Alright, what's up guys? JR here. It is Thursday, April the 30th, 2020, and let's go ahead and do it again today. So we have what appears to be a nice downtrend today. Initially I had my trend line drawn off these lows, then when we overshot it I just dragged it down right here and I put a midline in there for an equal distance. And there's a second entry short right here, a lower high right there. One second. Alright, sorry about that. I had a brief interruption. There was a second entry short right here, as well as a lower high right here. I skipped on those because I wasn't completely sure if we were going to continue going down right there. And yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what else we get. But the goal is 2 trades today. If we get more, we'll take more. But the goal initially is 2 trades. If we get 1, we'll be satisfied with that. But we're looking for the best trades, and we're only going to move when we're sure about the trade, and when it's nice and clean, and when we like it. So I'm just going to go to pause in the meantime, and I'll be back when I see something that I like. Alright, this is a second entry short right here. I'm a little skeptical because we have this trend line working down. We had a break and then 2 legs down to a new low. It hasn't triggered yet. It's off the EMA. It's off the possible midline, but I'm going to sit it out. It's looking like it's not even going to work anyway, so yeah. We'll wait and see what happens though. Alright, so we had one more little push higher to retest this double bottom area, and then we had a doji for that, and then we dropped on down. I would have liked it if we'd seen a lower high in there, but we didn't, so we'll see what happens. This trend is a little steep. It's not quite a 45-degree angle. It's a little steeper than that, so we'll see if we can maintain this or if we get some type of a better correction. But there's another steeper trend inside of here. Let me make this another color just to make it easier to be seen right now. There's another trend right here, and then you notice we have a break, and then there's 2 legs down to a new low, and then there's a 2-leg correction in there, and now we have a double bottom. So we'll see. We haven't quite confirmed this trend line yet. I just drew it off these first 2 swings, and then I dragged it down to these lows. We overshot it, so I put it down to where we bounced, and then I found the midline. But we're still trying to figure out exactly obviously we're trending down, but we're still trying to figure out exactly where we want to be entering on this, because just because it's moving down, that doesn't mean you just want to hop in every second entry you see, because eventually this thing's going to fail, and this is a bit steep. So we want to get a good correction, make sure the correction is played out, and figure out when we need to be entering. But yeah, we're just trying to play it safe, take the best trades, and hopefully get some good stuff. But I'm going to go back to pause because I don't want to talk for too long and then have this video be 25 minutes or something crazy like that. So we'll try to keep the commentary to a minimum, only talk when I need to talk, and yeah, we'll go about it like that. Alright, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm pretty tempted to go short right here. It's a second entry. It's 2 legs back. It's just that we came up short right here, and there's a double bottom, so that's what has me concerned. It's tempting, but I think I'm gonna wait and just kind of see what happens, because I'm not completely sure, but it is tempting. It didn't trigger right there, and then that's not a good signal bar anyway, so alright, that's a good sign. We're just going to go ahead and skip that. Another thing I'll add is there was a trend line working up, so it's definitely a good thing I didn't go long right there. This is what it looks like if you draw it off the lows, and if you draw it off the highs, you get something similar. So no matter how you try to cut it, it's not really a good place to go short. That would have been right into that trend line, so it's a good thing we skipped that. Another clue to not take that is that we had this double bottom right down there, and we didn't make it down to the lows. So usually that tells you that the momentum is kind of waning. We didn't make it down to the low, so you might get an overshoot in the opposite direction for that. So these are just things to think about. Alright, so there's a short right here I just got into. Basically we have a second entry short. We went out the high of this bar, and then we turned down and, oh, let me adjust this quickly before I get stopped out. Whoa, wasn't paying attention there. But yeah, we went out the high of this bar, and then we turned around and instantly reversed. We're coming off these highs. It's basically a second entry short. Well, the second entry is right here. The signal bar is no good, and then we have a lower high right there. I think that's going to be a nice short entry. Stacked up a little bit, and we're into the EMA, but I'm thinking we're going to push lower, so we went ahead and took that. This is a huge stop, by the way. I'll adjust that in a second as soon as this bar closes. The safest place really is 1 tick above this, so goodness gracious. Let's hope I didn't make the wrong call right there. It's looking like I might have, but we'll have to see. This congestion isn't looking too good. I mean, that's a huge stop. I should adjust this profit target, actually. Let's go ahead and drop it down to, where am I in? I'm in at 12.25. Let's drop it down to 10.25, so 2 points right there. I think this entry was a bit premature, but I do like this to the downside. That stop is huge, though. My goodness. And then the support isn't looking too good either. We might have to close this. I'll see how this bar closes, and then I'll decide whether or not I'm going to close it. Alright, I'm just going to pause it in the meantime so it doesn't get too long. Alright, so this bar closed pretty bearish. Another thing to take into consideration, if we break out of this, we might fail and pull back just because this is such heavy congestion. So this, looking at this after the fact, this isn't really that great of a trade. I was thinking we were going to get a quick trap right there coming off these highs. We went out the top of that bar, turned down, and came out of the bottom. I know typically these second entries are where you want to enter, so I was treating this like a lower high. That signal bar wasn't good enough for me. So, yeah, we're moving down. We would have had the 1 point scalp by now, but that stop is just so big. We have to go for more than that. We touched our 2 point target. We just traded through that. Let me drop this down, adjust my my stop to break even +1. So that's 4 points, 2 points on each contract. Let me mark this trade. This is a bit sketchy looking at it after the fact, but in real time I liked it. But you can see we're kind of stacking up right there. So, but I figured we were going to get some resistance at this point. Typically you want to get short right there, but that signal bar is not good. So this was my lower high. Yeah, I'll talk about it after the fact, but it's working down nicely now, but I won't be surprised at all if we pull back because this is just so much congestion. But I'm just going to go to pause on this runner and we'll see what happens. Alright, it's looking like we're going to get stopped out here. This is heavy congestion, so it's not to be unexpected for a failed breakout to occur at all. But, yeah. Alright, so we just got stopped right there. This trade, in real time, I liked it. Let me just go back and kind of scroll bar for bar and just look at this again. So pretty much you have this trend working higher. You have this break to push back up. 2-leg correction. There's a second entry short right there. The signal bar is no good. You have resistance stacking up across there. I would have liked to have shorted this if we had a nice bearish bar. So then, as you can see, we broke higher, turned around and broke lower all in the same bar. I was treating that like a lower high. You can see we're kind of stacking up right there, so that's one sign to not take that. It's also right into the EMA. And then, as you can see, we just went into some pretty heavy congestion, and then fortunately, because of this resistance, and the read was still good, it's just that entry was a bit premature. We managed to drop down, get our 2 point target. Went to a 2 point target because this was a lot of risk. I forgot how many points that was exactly, but that was a considerable amount of risk. And then we had the failed breakout. Obviously, we pulled back. And, yeah, we'll see where we go from here. But that's one. We'll look for one more. There's another second entry short right here. This also was a long trap because you get that failed break lower, higher low right there. People tried to go long. You know, you take a few ticks higher, you turn down. Once you break beneath that, you're most likely going to come stop them out. So that's another entry you could have considered. I was a bit hesitant because clearly there's still support running across here and then the EMA right there. And then after this entry, yeah, I was just going to take it easy. So, yeah. Alright, so there's a second entry short right here. It's a little bit risky due to these lows, but I'm convinced that we have a trap right here with this higher low. And this is technically like a failed second entry long. We're coming off the EMA. So we're going to look for a quick scalp. We'll get out before we even break these lows, and then we'll see if we can push on down lower. I think we're going to continue going lower. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with this trade. I have a spike and channel drawn off these highs, and we pushed through the midline and everything, so I'm expecting us to come back down to these lows. I think that's a good trap. Let me make this bigger so you guys can see what's going on. I think this is going to be a good trap. So we had a strong push down. We haven't quite had a retest of the low. It's kind of a double bottom right there, which does make this a bit risky, but once again, typically if we were going to go higher, we would have gone higher right here and then definitely right there. So the fact that this is failing, this is letting me know that this is most likely a trap. So I want to go ahead and take that with the second entry. But I'm just going to pause it and then I'll come back in a second. Alright, so we had a little bullish bar right there. This is definitely an aggressive setup, but once again, I said I think this is going to be a trap, so I like it for that reason, and I think we're going to take out these lows. Alright, so we just push straight through there. Let me tighten my stop. One break even plus one. I'm sure I can probably get more off this runner. Yeah, you see we're dropping down nicely. That's a good trade right there. Go ahead and mark it. We'll leave the runner at 4 points. We can probably get more, but we'll leave it at 4 points. So we made 2 points off the scalp, and then we'll make 4 points off the runner. That'll make this a 6-point trade, and then we made 4 points off this short up top here. Alright, so we got that. That was a good trade. We made 4 points off this trade up top here, and then 6 points off this one, so that's a total of 10 points for today. It's been so long since I last made a commentary on, I don't even remember what the last thing I said was. It was somewhere in this region. But I guess let's just go back over the trades for the day, and then I'll call it quits for the day. Alright, give me 1 second. Let me gather my thoughts. Alright, so let's just do a brief recap, and then I'll go ahead and close off this video. So I took off that first trend line that I had drawn on here just because the chart it's a little busy. There's a lot going on here in terms of lines, and I want to declutter it as much as possible to get the clearest picture for you guys. So basically we started off, we're trending down pretty nicely in the beginning. There was a short-term uptrend right here. You get a break. There's a second entry short right there. That's a nice one. I should have taken that, followed by a lower high. It's another nice one. There's a failed second entry long right there. I probably wouldn't take that trade, but that's something you might consider because clearly it's a trap. And then we have a 2-leg correction. There's second entry short right there. The bar's no good. There's also a break of this trend line and 2 legs down, so you want to be aware of that. Double bottom right there. We push straight through the EMA. Failed second entry short right there. It's right into those highs, so I would be a bit skeptical of that. Then I think I was considering going short right here. Good thing we didn't because there's a trend line working up. It wouldn't have triggered anyways, but just be aware of that. This trend worked up. It held pretty much. You get a lower high right there that you might have considered. This hasn't played out yet, so I don't know if I'd recommend that, but you are a little ways away from the EMA and you have a failed second entry long. You can kind of count this as a double top, but technically it is a failed second entry long with a nice lower high with the pretty bearish signal bar. Get a good drop down. Second entry long right there, inside bar, but it's a strong bullish bar. You have matching lows and matching highs. You may have considered going long right there. This is a nice long. I probably should have taken that. That's a second entry long with a nice higher low. You need a retest of these highs. And then this is the short that I ended up taking. I think that's a bit aggressive. Looking at it after the fact, initially I was thinking, okay, it would be nice to go short right here if I had a nice bearish signal bar. We had some resistance stacking across. Initially I had the line drawn, I think it was coming somewhere across there, so you can see the resistance. There's a double top. Good second entry short right there. The signal bar is no good. You get a lower high right here. We went out of the top of this bar and then turned around and went out of the bottom. So I put my sell stop right there thinking we were just going to push straight through really quickly. Didn't end up happening. The risk was huge on this bar, so I had to extend my target a little bit to 2 points instead of 1 point. Had a bit of congestion, dropped out of the bottom, pushed back right back inside. Second entry short right there. A little bit of a long trap. Might have considered taking that. This support was a bit concerning to me, but you have to factor in the fact that we just pushed straight through it, so we probably cleared that out a little bit, so you might be good to go short right there. 2 legs of correction right there, higher low. Don't know how I feel about that. The lows were really down there at that point, and we hadn't quite made it there. Failed break out at the top, push back down. higher low, right back into the EMA, kind of in the middle of the range. Second entry short right there that fails in the middle of the range. Higher low, lower high, congestion, failed second entry long, more congestion, push straight through. You kind of treat that like a second entry long, but you're in the middle of the range at that point, so I wouldn't recommend it. Getting a nice bounce off that low. I was a little skeptical of that. You could have gone long right here. This is a pretty good one. I just realized that I yelled that "you" kind of loud, so hopefully that doesn't come through too loudly for you guys. You could have gone long right there. I was a bit skeptical of it just due to the fact that we were kind of chopping down. Let me make this a little smaller. But it's kind of a steady down chop. These lows were clearly defined at that point. We were clearly in a trading range, but I was afraid that what happened here would happen there, so I skipped that one. It was a good trade to take though. Pushed on down, trend line working down, you get a break, short-term uptrend, first entry, second entry long. The reason why I like this trap is because if we were going to go higher, we should have gone higher right there, and we definitely should have gone higher right there on the higher low. Once you see that tick up and turn back down, the bias is down really heavily. You don't necessarily want to be looking for a long, especially when everything is going down like that. There's no reason to really be going long right there. Yeah, it's a second entry, good strong bar, which strengthens our trap. And yeah, it's a second entry short as well. It's off the EMA, so I like that. It was close to these lows, which makes it a bit aggressive. But if you see the trap, I think that's a good trade to take. And sure enough, it worked out nicely. And somebody asked me a question earlier, so let me just look at that comment and talk about that really quickly. 1 second. All right, so he asked if I can explain in detail two-leg traps. I'm not completely sure what that means, but I guess that means like a failed second entry trap with 2 legs of correction leading up to it. So I'll use this example of the trade I just took. So basically we have 2 legs down right here. So this is going to be 1 leg. There's your first entry, and then a second leg, which is larger. So that's a 2-leg correction in the grand scheme of things, and usually that ends up being the center of the pattern. So when you see a nice bullish bar like that happen, and it pretty much instantly failed, we ticked above it, turned down with the bearish bar, that's a failure right there. So that's telling you something that, okay, if we were going to go higher, we should have gone higher right here. We had 2 legs of correction, and we just failed right there. You have another bullish bar that came right after it, so now you have a 2-leg correction beginning off the low side as well. Hopefully this isn't confusing what I'm saying, but you have a 2-leg correction beginning off the low side after a 2-leg correction off the high side. So this is 2 legs down, first leg right here, pull back, second leg right there. That's when you get your first trigger. Now you get 1 leg of correction up right here, 1 leg down, then a second leg of correction right back up, and then you get a failure. I'm thinking about what I just said, and I slightly confused myself. So hopefully you understand that, but let's see. There's 2 legs of correction right here also, and that kind of leads to a failure, and then we end up going lower. So this is 1 leg up, this is 1 leg down, okay? You get 2 legs of correction up, and then a second leg down. There's 2 legs in this as well, and then you get another attempt to go higher. So typically once you see these first 2 legs of correction, you would expect a measured move like this. So after you get this leg down, 2 legs of correction, then a second leg down, you would naturally expect this to be the center of your pattern and to get another leg up like that. So typically you'd want to measure that move. And once that fails and you turn down, you can expect, okay, we're probably going to end up going in the opposite direction because this should be the center of the pattern, which means that we just failed right there. So we're probably going to take off in the opposite direction. And that's sure enough what happened. So yeah, I don't know if that's a good explanation. If it's not, just leave a comment down below and maybe I can try to explain it written, or I can give it deeper thought and come back and just make a specific video just specifically targeting that kind of information in terms of 2-leg corrections and failed second entries and second entries in general and all that kind of stuff. But basically all the trap is the strongest traps from what I've noticed are the ones that you know that a setup typically would work if the circumstances were different, which makes it really compelling. And then when you see it not work, that's when you know you have people trapped. So let's say we're trending up and you get this setup. The bias is up and you get this setup. You get a 2-leg correction, 2-leg pullback. You're going sideways right there. That's a failed breakout of congestion. And you get a strong bullish bar. If the bias were up, I would have bought that. We would have gone long right there, and I definitely would have gone long right there. Since we're going down, that's not a good setup. You don't want to be looking to go long in this kind of condition. So, because of the fact is, we're going down, you get something that would work out nicely if the conditions were different, but since they're not, the ideal condition to be taking a long setup, this ends up being a trap. So you don't take this setup and you wait to see if you get a good setup to take it in the opposite direction, because you'll know that most likely people who aren't aware of these circumstances, they're just looking for patterns or things of that nature, they're going to be fooled by this and they're going to take it. And this is the exact evidence that a trap happened. When you see how big this bearish bar is, you know that you trapped them, because you hit their stops that are right down here. They all have to exit once they see things start going lower, and that's pretty much fundamentally what a trap is. So that's usually the way that I try to visualize it. If the market conditions or the context aren't ideal for the typical type of setup that I would want to take in that instance, usually I look to fade it and do the opposite. So if we had been trending up, this would be a nice setup for a long. Since we're trending down, it's not, so I'm looking to go short. Didn't want to go short right here because that's a bit premature, but once we got that second entry with this this higher low right off the EMA and 2-leg pullback, that's a nice trap right there. I'm going to stop talking now because I'm borderline confusing myself trying to explain all this stuff, so hopefully you guys understand it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Not too pleased with this trade, but it did work out, and that's what matters at the end of the day. We have a spiking channel possibly. Drew it off these 2 swings. You come back, kind of confirm it right there. I had another option drawn right here also. I drew it something like this, and then I played around with it, and ultimately this other one is fitting kind of better, but this could be valid as well, because you notice we overshot it right there and then we bounced off it again right there. But that's it for today. I'll probably see you guys sometime next week. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. 2 trades. This one's somewhat sketchy, but yeah, 10 points in total. And if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, anything of that nature, just go ahead and drop it down below. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. I've seen a lot of growth recently, and I like that. It's motivating. It's good to know that you guys are enjoying this kind of content. So if you have any questions about anything else that you'd like to see specifically, feel free to leave a comment down below. And hopefully you guys are doing well, and I'll see you next time.